I do. Another part of my campaign platform is to implement a personal finance class for students in the high school level, at maybe even the junior high school level. I'm not really sure. It's something that we'd have to sit down and talk about as a Swansea school committee. But I going to high school, I know, recently going to high school, I know that there is nothing in the curriculum that teaches credit cards, how credit cards work, how mortgages work. These are all things that, as 18-year-old students, they're being aggressively marketed for credit cards, and they don't understand. I find that most of these students don't understand how interest works, how financing works, and ultimately how mortgages work, because that's most of their goals are to eventually buy a house of their own. And I think that if we implemented a personal finance class, it wouldn't cost Swansea anything, because my idea is to look for grants. And if we don't look for grants, maybe just go to these financial institutions in Swansea and surrounding communities and see if they will help us out develop a program for this type of thing.
And that sounds very intelligent. We just came through this huge housing market crisis of the mortgages being completely unfounded and just bringing down the economy of America. And if, as you had said, if people were taught in high school, the risk involved and the security that you need
Absolutely.
in order to have it never would have happened. We're just subject to the banks and whoever is out there to sell a mortgage.
Definitely. No, I think
you have your pulse on really where it's at in the economy too.
Yes, I do. I think it would be the right thing to do. At this point in time, as a community, we can acknowledge that maybe people aren't exactly totally educated on personal finances. And we can do something about that here in Swansea. And it would not be an additional expenditure. It would just supplement the programs we already offer.
I'm sure the teachers would love to learn and teach that thing too. They're involved too, and the administration. Now, Chris, as I look at you, you're a young man. I thought you were much older when you were in my class, and it's because of your demeanor, your intelligence, and your demeanor and your maturity. But youth is an asset. How will your youth be an asset to the present school committee?
Well, like I said, I'm a graduate of Joseph Case High School only several years ago. I'm very in touch of what's going on in our school system. Matter of fact, when Swansea Cable Access was first introduced to Joseph Case High School and Swansea Cable Access in the community, I was actually one of the very first camera operators here at the studio. And I found that it really piqued my interest, because Bill Hall, the Spectator reporter, did a show here, and he interviewed local town officials. And I was actually here to witness most of those interviews, and it really intrigued me and made me want to learn more about the community, and brought me to this point. And I've just been in real touch with the students here at Joseph Case High School, the students at the junior high school, and I remember my elementary school days like yesterday. So I know exactly what's going on. I have the motivation, the ambition, and I have the ideas, and I'd like to be part of a change in Swansea.
And you explained that very well about just coming right here from the TV studio. And this is another example of what happens in the high school. I noticed just coming into the high school how excited the student body seems to be, how involved and committed the teachers seem to be about just this television studio. And it is that it's an outreach to the community and bringing it right in with public officials. I can't see any more greater service and partnership between the community and the school. Excellent. But there's also other things about youth that you might not realize, and that is energy, Chris. Energy and excitement about life. I don't know if you're aware of that, but that is something that young people can bring. Older people have that too, but young people are just fresh out of school and have that edge. So let's get into your schooling a little bit. The schooling you received in Swansea and the work experience you were able to find right in this area. Has that benefited you? Has that prepared you to be a public servant?
It has benefited me.
If you can tell the voters a little bit about that, where you've worked.
I actually work as a 911 dispatcher for the Swansea Fire Department. I'm a volunteer firefighter in Swansea as well. I've also managed a small establishment in the Swansea Mall when I was 16 to 18 years old. I also now work at Sears Loss Prevention, where I'm an asset protection officer. And my job is to basically minimize loss as much as possible, looking at our cost and looking at where we can save money constantly, as well as look for shoplifters and that end of it. So I've also worked in the mortgage industry. I was in the marketing department, and I've helped people when they're in very difficult situations where they're on the verge of losing their homes.
Yeah.
So I've a lot of my jobs require a lot of responsibility.
Yes.
And it's responsibility I'm going to exemplify as a Swansea School Committee member.
Yes, and I think also ethical behavior. I think like in the loss prevention, I mean, in public office, sometimes there are unexpected losses, and that's something we don't want to have happen in local politics. So you'll have your eye out for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Integrity is very important, and it's something that should be upheld no matter what. And ethics are very important to me. Being brought up in, I've been brought up with Swansea values, and they're very ethical values. And like I said before, when elected, I'll uphold my integrity, and I promise to serve with honesty and integrity.
That's good. They all say that.
Thanks a lot.
I don't know. It's a good line. But I believe, Chris, he's a man I believe. When talking, we discussed about something that happened in Swansea, I think last summer, that was reported in the paper, about a recent situation that the school department had to face. I think it was in finding their new superintendent. And you told me that not everybody was happy with the way that person was selected. If you want to address that issue.
Yes, I will. Christine Stanton, the current superintendent, who preceded Stephen Flanagan, our previous superintendent, Christine Stanton was appointed as superintendent without an interview process, without posting the position, without even having to submit an application or a resume. I think Christine Stanton's doing an excellent job, and I think she's an excellent candidate for the position. I think it's very important that I note that.